Story, your host with the most. I'm here with Daniel with Magic Key Holders. Hi, Daniel.
Hey guys, how you doing?
If you haven't seen this show before, it's very informal. I say this to everybody. It's kind of like a practice show. We tell a story about our lives or our experience or whatever, and then we open up the forum for everybody to come in and talk to me because I like to talk, and more importantly, talk to the guest and introduce them to like our circle of how things are done. So, um, Daniel and I met at eBay Open last year, right, Daniel?
Yeah, that was
It's Dan though, right? Dan is better.
yeah. Dan is better.
Awesome. So Dan and I met at eBay Open last year, and through random, I don't know. I feel like we kind of knew each other before that from some random thing. Somebody
Because of the
said,
bowl, the bowl.
"Yeah,
Uh,
yeah, yeah." It was the crazy running bull, which I did sell. So then I lost my wallet, right?
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
And then Daniel helped me find my wallet, and I don't know. It just feel like it had a good vibe and it helped me like when you get into like positivity and you just don't give up and you're like, hey Kayla, hey Brian. We have Kayla from Hazel Hearts Vintage. We have
Nice.
Brian, the vegan. They were both at eBay Open as well. Did you see both of them?
Absolutely, yeah. I met both of them.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, so we kind of knew each other from Instagram. I like Instagram. It's my only real social media platform. I don't do YouTube enough for it to be sort of what I consider a social. I don't connect with people through YouTube. I mostly connect with people through Instagram.
Right.
Would you say Instagram is your main social media platform for connecting?
Yeah, I would say that Instagram and Facebook second is like my main, connecting with other resellers and other people for sure.
Interesting. So I haven't used Facebook since like 2007. I find it got kind of like, I don't know how to describe it, peculiar. It got peculiar, and I was an early adopter of Facebook. So in order to do the first Facebook signups, you had to have like a university ID, and I was at
Yeah.
LSU at the time, and
Yeah.
I got in early like that, and it was one of the few reasons why I actually trusted the platform, and then they kind of like got rid of that whole thing. So I don't know. Facebook seems really convoluted and involved in a lot of like scandals, but they own Instagram, so it's the same thing,
Yeah,
right?
it's the same thing. Absolutely.
Exactly.
I
So
was one of those people that like I didn't want to get Facebook for the longest time. Like I was just like totally against it. I didn't like I didn't want to own a Facebook, but as far as connecting nowadays, Instagram number one and Facebook is second hand for sure.
yeah, it looks like they predicted that too, but by acquiring Instagram, they kind of knew that that information flow would kind of change, and it's interesting. So I sell on eBay mostly. I sell on Amazon and Poshmark, and now Mercari, and I mean gain a full. Hi Cindy, I gain a full time. Nicole, hi. I gain a full time income from reselling. You do as well, right?
Yes, I'm full time on reselling.
Excellent. And so your main focus is Disney stuff, and we'll kind of delve into that here in another second, I guess.
Yes, my main niche is Disney Disney collectibles. That's what I kind of dabble in. I also like just as far as like following you and other resellers, I've dabbled in other things. Anything that I can find to make a buck to kind of support my full time income on reselling. I dabble in, but for the most part, I would say 95% of my full time income is mainly on Disney collectibles and Disney.
95%. That's crazy.
Yeah,
I'm so highly diversified that yeah, I mean that it's so interesting. Well, I think it follows that same mantra, and Nicole has talked about this before. It's like I don't find Disney stuff here because Disney isn't here. Nike is here, Pendleton is here, Columbia is here, Sorel is here. Those are the things I find, and I mean those are the things I focus on because our probability of finding those things is much higher, right?
Right.
Just as yourself. So it's kind of we're gonna move it along here and do our stories. So we kind of got we got sidetracked there in the beginning trying to make things work. Do you want to go first or would you like to go second?
I don't mind going first.
Do it.
Just kind of like touching on what you were talking about. Like for me, live kind of like I moved here in '96 in the Orlando area when I was 9 years old, and like I've kind of just one of those young kids, just enjoying the ride of enjoying Disney. My grandparents bought me and my family Disney, like annual pass holder tickets to Disney, and we used to attend the parks and enjoy coming here. And again, it was like surreal life, and we used to go to the parks all the time. We used to collect a lot of stuff. And over that time period, I used to just be I used to just really be heavy in collecting. But again, living in Orlando, the opportunity of finding Disney stuff is there's a lot of opportunity, pretty much, from outlet stores, cast members that retire, and also just people that the same love as us that buy Disney stuff, and then they decide, hey, like I need quick cash or I need to get out of this. So I kind of I would kind of like, again, like I would just, like, on the side, go to like a lot of like conventions and shows, and again, just from a collector's aspect, I would just go there and I would kind of see other like kind of dealers or vendors, and I would see what they were selling. I was mainly into Disney pins. I always have Disney pins on deck. This is a random Disney pin, but yeah, I would I me my main focus was Disney pins, and I would just buy a lot of Disney pins, and come it was like around 2012. I was in I like graduated from high school in 2005. I got into the retail world. It was like, a store manager for a while, and I did that. And over that over that time period, I met a friend of mine, and he did e-commerce. And as soon as he said e-commerce, I was like, what, what's e-commerce? Like, I like, again, like, I was a collector. I did purchase like randomly a few things online, but I just never knew that there was like a market for let alone Disney stuff, but
Even though
just
you
like,
were buying the stuff, seeking the stuff out, you never thought
yeah.
about like the other side of things, right?
Yeah, no, I never like, again, he said e-commerce. I was like, again, like I dabbled in eBay because I've been an eBay buyer since 2005, 2004, and I was just like, like I bought stuff randomly here and there, and just, he mentioned it, and I started helping him out with his business, and he sold medical equipment. And um, again, like one day, just randomly, like helping him out, my wife, she's like, hey, like, I know you have a lot of stuff. You and your family, you guys collected a lot of stuff over the years. Like, why don't you sell a few Disney things? And I was like, I don't know if there's really a market, like, for some of the stuff I
Oh, so the
have.
medical guy who you were working with was like, "Hey, you have this Disney stuff, like you should try to sell it online."
Yeah, he's like, like, my wife mentioned it, and he was like, hey, like, that's your niche. You're like, you know a lot about Disney. Like, why don't you try to throw a few things on that you personally collected, or things. I inherited some stuff from my family, so it's just like, stuff that maybe you have that you're not using, or you're not appreciating. Why don't you throw it online? So it was like the tail end of 2012. I started throwing stuff on eBay as far as like Disney stuff, and before you knew it, my first item ever sold on eBay. when it comes to Disney items was a phone case. I don't remember exactly like which iPhone at that time it was, but it was like an iPhone cell phone case that I sold. And I looked
It's
at
like a
my wife. I was like,
two.
"Wow, that sold." Yeah, I was like, "Oh wow," I was like, "That sold pretty quick." And so it kind of like took off from there. I just decided to try to, like start kind of like going into collectibles that I knew a little bit more like knowledge about, which, as I mentioned, was Disney pins, because that's kind of like where I had a very love from a small kid, like collecting Disney pins. So I started selling Disney pins on eBay, and then I started gradually just kind of like working my way up to like larger inventory or kind of like larger collectibles. And now, again, living in Orlando, there's a kind of like a major opportunity where there's always somebody looking to get rid of Disney. Tomorrow there's garage sales, and people are getting rid of, just living in the area, like somebody has attended, the parks, or they may have worked for the parks. So there's always, kind of like a opportunity for finding nice Disney items.
Yeah,
And then
you could
local.
never come up with the amount of capital necessary to acquire all of the items around you. It would be impossible, right? So you have almost, based on the amount of money that you can generate, you probably have limitless opportunities to go out there and find the best deals because you're so close.
Absolutely, and then even kind of like doing it and actually progressing and starting a business. I've been able to kind of like work my way in, and I've like kind of like worked hand in hand with Disney and their like outlet. They're because obviously like Disney, just as a company, they're always again like Valentine's Day just passed. They're trying to get rid of all their stuff, and Easter's on the way, so it's like Disney's always turning over stuff, so they have several liquidation outlets to public, and then also to like specifically vendors. So it's like I'm one of the vendors. I kind of like come in and try to help. Not like like obviously there's other people that do what I do in the area, but like we come in and we try to like help Disney kind of like get rid of stuff also. So it's like also just from private sales from personal people, and then also like
Their
helping.
margins are excellent, though, so I'm sure their liquidations can be quite good.
Yeah, their liquidations can be, like as just like a random, like just recently, Animal Kingdom celebrated their one of their anniversaries, and there's like a hat there that they were selling at the parks for $100, and they marked it down to $15. Like it was $100. It was like a wood, like a wood like bill. I mean, it was, it's like a really nice hat, but like if you were there at the parks, you were paying $100, but now at the outlet, it's only $15. So it's like,
For
again,
the
like people,
wholesalers like you,
yeah,
then
that
you could
come
sell it. You could sell it for 65% off and still make a profit because you probably paid $3, $4 to ship it.
absolutely.
So that, yeah, I mean, that's a good place to be. And you know, even if it takes you, it seems like your business is so different than mine because I find individual items that are hard to find, right? And so there's nothing that I have that's replenishable, and maybe very few things that you have are replenishable, but you might be able to acquire 100 of them. There are very few occasions where I can acquire 100 of anything. It's just
Right.
never happens. I mean, it rarely happens, but I mean, it does. Is there like a story about you finding or encountering some like crazy haul at some point or something?
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I have a few like just kind of like random stories, just as far as I always try to share this. It's just kind of like I always try to tell people like kind of like I feel like what I sell when it comes to Disney, and I'm sure a lot of people can kind of relate in the chat, is like some people really like it's an emotional attachment to Disney. So like necessarily maybe you visited Disneyland when you were younger, or you visited Walt Disney World with your family, and it's just like that emotional attachment kind of like there's no dollar sign that you could put on that. So like there's certain items that I sell that I'm like very surprised that I move, or somebody will buy something from me, and they kind of like, like, hey, like, again, I was at Space Mountain, or I was at, Thunder Mountain, or I was at Magic Kingdom, 20 years ago with my father, and like, I'm buying this item from you because I have that like, I have that emotional attachment,
Yeah,
like,
like you took the step. Somebody was clearing out. Somebody connected with you. You bought their collection. It happened to be something that was sold 1985 at Space Mountain, and that person was there, and they connected with an emotional experience that they had before. And I mean, it definitely makes sense. I mean, that's like all like like the vintage toys and stuff like that. They have that same nostalgic like feel. And I know Disney is like really has a strong nostalgic feel. I'm an Android, so I I don't have a lot of nostalgic feels. But I did go to Disney when I was very young, but I think I was too young to really remember and appreciate it. But yeah, I think the first time I went, I was 3. Disney World.
right. No, yeah, I mean, I even have people that have never, like, never attended, they've never been to a park, and maybe they purchase an item just because, hey, Aladdin is my favorite movie. Aladdin makes me feel as, like, again, like, like, shout out to Reezy Resells, like, he's told me this, like, personally, it's just like, he feels like, like, that movie connects with him, and it's like, hey, it's like anything Aladdin kind of like brings him back to that, like, hey, again, like, rags to
Oh,
riches.
that's his
That, yeah,
actual thing.
yeah, that's his
Yeah,
thing. He told me, it's like,
yeah.
it's like he kind of like connects with that. So it's like, I have people that buy stuff from me, and they're just like, hey, like, again, maybe I've never been to the park, or I've never experienced, like, Walt Disney World or Disneyland or any of the other parks, but it's like, hey, like, we all grew up with the movies. We all grew up with, like, something, like, a part of Disney that kind of like maybe we relate to, So it's like that
Yeah.
emotional attachment to stuff. But I mean, I mean, like, some are like, like, some, like, really big hauls always come from cast members. Like, I meet a lot of cast members doing what I do, and it's, I mean, you hear these stories, like, people that have been with the company for 20, 30 years, and it's like, they've done a lot to kind of like spread the magic, and it's for me, it's like, it's nice to kind of like be able to help them and kind of like be the middleman, where it's like, hey, like, hey, I want to give you fair value of what you have, or, like, again, like, rare
Yeah.
items, but I also want to be able to be the middleman to kind of like pass this on to, somebody else.
You're not helping anybody if you can't like spread the value, and you have to make a profit in the middle, because if you don't, then you can't help other people later. I mean, you can have a charitable aspect of your business for sure,
Right.
but in the end, in order for you to help more people, you need to make more money to help more people to make more money. You can't
Absolutely.
if somebody comes up and they're like, "Oh gosh, something happened and I need to sell all this stuff," and you can't buy it at a fair price because you didn't make any money, then you actually may have done a disservice to that person and the other people coming behind them.
Right.
So I don't think I don't think there's this aspect of people where they're like, oh, you shouldn't be able to make money in these certain scenarios or this or that. It's like I don't prescribe to that at all. It's like money is a certain type, it's an energy, and the more you can like build that energy, the more you can like move it around. I'm not a stingy person. I don't associate with people who are like cheap or stingy. I don't like that mentality. But I also
Right.
like, if somebody has a giant load of things and they're like, I want this for it, I'm like, okay, if that's what you want, then that's what I'm going to give you. Now, I generally don't haggle in a lot of like, I don't try to lowball people, but sometimes I do. I am like, what do you want for this stuff? Because
Right.
if somebody's selling me something, I kind of want to know what they want, you know?
Absolutely.
Because I don't understand what's always fair. I don't like to be in a place where I don't understand what's fair. So if I can get somebody else's perspective, then I can understand what's fair to them, And I mean, there's buys that take me 2 or 3 years to go through. I mean, that's the
Absolutely.
truth. I mean, and I could easily put that money towards other things. And you and I both have limited amounts of capital, right? We both, I
Right.
mean,
No, no, no.
all of us
There's
do. All of us do.
there's I mean, just to kind of hit on your point is like obviously sometimes too, like you have somebody that they might have such an emotional attachment to the items where it's like they it's like
Yeah.
hey like I think this pen or it's like hey like I think it's worth this much and it's like well like like maybe top value it could be that worth that much but it's like hey I'm here I'm trying to help you I want to help you like move it as quickly as possible but
Yeah.
yeah no I absolutely agree it's
No,
like
being the
sometimes
conduit is definitely important, and you need some cash. Okay, so I'm gonna quickly tell a story, and then I am going to, hey Val, I am going to post a link so anybody can come in and hang out, and then we'll have a little open forum for a sec, and then we'll do the tang. Yeah, we got a show. I'm sorry, the last one didn't work out. And my phone is like reversed. If I turn this way, it turns this way. If I turn this way, it turns this way. I'm going to tell a story about going to Vietnam, which I think is one of the most amazing countries in the world. It's one of the most picturesque and beautiful places. And one of my excuses for starting the show was to tell some of the stories of my life, because and then record them, right? So um, there's a common in Vietnam, if somebody asks you for something and you don't know what the price is or what the value is, and you just pay them, it's just like culturally acceptable. Like if you are if somebody tells you an aspirin costs $500 and you pay it, well then it costs $500. You don't have any recourse after it's done. Like you should already know. Like you should be prepared for the situations in front of you. And this is kind of like the ethos of the people. And it's kind of funny because like what we think of like a scam to us isn't the same for them, but some things border that, and they're funny. So I was with my wife Lau, and we were taking a train for 12 hours from one town to the next. We had to get across the country because we were traveling. I think we were traveling to like Hong Kong or something. But we had traveled across the country on motorbikes, beautiful country, absolutely amazing. Weird occurrences. So I go to the counter, and I'm using the guidebook, and I want a first class ticket, right? Because we're riding for a really long time. So it's like known as a common swindle or a common swap that you pay for the first class ticket and they give you the fourth class ticket, right? But you know what? You're a guest in their country, and you gotta kind of, if you can't read the language and you don't know and you accept the ticket, it's your fault. Really, it is. If you take the ticket they sold you and you don't know the difference, what's anybody gonna do for you? So I bought first class tickets. They gave us fourth class tickets, and so we get on this train, and it's really hilarious because so many. It's hot, really hot, even at night. Like it was early spring, like before the monsoon, and I mean it was like 110 degrees at night. It was so hot, and we get escorted down, and the for this 12-hour ride, it's 3 seats, but people in Vietnam are way smaller than we are just in stature, right? They're much shorter and much more narrow at the hips. So a seat for two like Westerners was a seat for three of them, and it's a wooden bench. And I look at it, I'm like, oh man, like how am I gonna fight this? Like I do not want to sit on this wooden bench for like 12 hours. So I kind of see this guy moving around, and then I kind of hear him talking, and it sounds like he might speak some English. So I kind of talk to him, and I say, "Hey man, like we bought we bought the first class seats, but they gave us the fourth class seats. Very kind of much slower than this. And he's like, "Oh yeah, um, you can buy our seats in the crew area. They have beds. They're a million dong, which is like $1,000 or something. Like it's a ridiculous amount of money, and no one would ever. I mean, dude, breakfast costs like 30 cents. He's like, no one would ever even carry that amount of money. And I was like, you want me to pay you in cash? He's like, yeah. I was like, can I see? I was kind of like leading the guy on because I kind of,
Just to
I
see.
yeah, I was gonna negotiate it down to like $40 or something because I mean, I think somebody tried to charge me $50 for an aspirin at some point. I'm not joking. So he's like, no, you can't see it. It has a bed. It's clean. If you want to buy it, whatever. And I was like, no, I really want to see it. And he just disappears. And they never come back. So I'm sitting on this bench, and the train's going through these small towns in Vietnam, and people are coming and people are going. Well, I guess it's just even that train ticket was probably like for a 12-hour train ticket was probably like $5 or $6 in fourth class, but maybe like I think I paid like $40 for first class, right?
Right.
So it got later and later and more people got on the train and more people exchanged and got this and got that and yada yada. Kind of dozed off on my own shoulder because there's no place to like the backrest was like here, and then it's getting kind of late, and then this truck gets wheeled through the center, right? And it's
And you
full.
allow her just sitting on a like on a
La was
bench?
like straight up drooling because she's sitting next to the window. The window's kind of like halfway open, and she's kind of sleeping. But I'm in the middle of the bench, and there's no place to put my head. And she's smaller than I am, so she
Yeah.
doesn't, like she can kind of fit on the bench. I cannot fit on the bench. But this is at 2 o'clock in the morning. A snack comes out, and they start selling this snack, and it's a partially developed duck embryo. It's like warm dry rice, and inside of the warm dry rice, there's these eggs, and everybody's buying these eggs and they're cracking them open and breaking them open. And there's like ducks with feathers inside of them and juice. And this lady, straight up, like she's like 147. She's so old. Like her skin is like dripping off her body. She's so old. She's sitting next to me in my seat, and she's just like devouring a couple of these duck eggs, and they smell like hot trash. They just smell so bad, and I'm just like, I am on the I'm the whole like the train is just like bouncing around. There's this old lady eating partially developed duck embryos
Ducks.
with like feathers next to me. It gets better. It's way better. The people who are like kind of standing in the aisles after the duck eggs get like eaten, they start sleeping underneath us, like under the benches. So there's like two people sleeping under my feet, and the lady besides me falls asleep with her head on my shoulder.
She's sitting between you and Lao?
No, she's sitting at the end of the aisle. So Lau's against the
Oh.
window, and I'm in the middle, and the lady is at the end, and she just straight nods out next to me. And I'm gonna post the. Here is the. I'm posting the link to the chat now if you want to come in and talk to Dan or talk to me or tell story or whatever. Yeah, so we end up in. If you've heard of a place called like Ha Long Bay, it's like a World Heritage site. There's these crazy karst formations in this giant bay, and people go out and view the bay or whatever. We didn't really do that because that I don't know, that type of tourism, it just tears the places to pieces. So we went to Halong Bay to get back to Hanoi and see Hanoi, and then I think we flew from Hanoi to Hong Kong later. But um, yeah, that was a crazy experience. Vietnam is pretty amazing. Pretty amazing. And that's
So
my
you had
story.
overall, did you guys get to see some good sights or?
Amazing. Really amazing places. So what we would do is we started in Saigon, which is in the far south, and then ended in Hanoi, which is in the far north. And what we do is like rent a scooter or a motorcycle and then ride to the next town. Or I mean, excuse me, we would take a bus and ride to a town, rent a motorcycle, and then go out to the outskirts because there's lots of caves. And we one day I was like, oh, we're gonna venture out and check this out. And we rode like 2 hours into the backwoods, and there was this endangered like lemur farm. Yeah, it was like a huge like Jurassic Park place. They built this giant 50-foot tall wire, or more than that, maybe 150-foot tall like wire fence that made a dome over like an acre of land because people eat bush meat and stuff, and like
Yeah, they
some of the
would.
lemurs there's only like a couple different types of there's do you know what like a siamang is, or the lesser apes like not bonobos, what are they called? Somebody help me out here. I think it starts with a B. They're 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 right in between like monkeys and like kind of gorillas. A
Okay.
Siamang is one of them. A siamang. They're called can't remember. They call them the lesser apes. They don't have tails. Gibbons. Have you heard of gibbons?
No,
Like the call of the gibbons. Somebody join this chat. We have to get somebody in here.
the Gibbons?
Gibbons. You never heard of gibbons?
No, no.
Gibbons are. Oh, we got Kayla coming in. Hi, Kayla.
Hi.
I feel like it's been a long time.
Did I just join monkey chat?
Gibbons are apes.
Is that what we're doing? Is just monkey chat tonight?
Well,
Gibbons.
I don't know. Everybody always talks about boring stuff, so I wanted to talk about something interesting. How have you
Like
been?
monkeys. Good.
Gibbons, the lesser apes. They're interesting. They have a song. They sing these songs through the forest. Yeah, and apparently you can hear them from like miles away.
Okay. I'll take your word for it. I think monkeys are kind of scary.
What about gibbons?
Apes and monkeys and that whole kind of scary.
Oh yeah, I see it. Yeah, yeah, I see it. Like primate Gibbons.
Can you play the song of the Siamang?
You'll probably get shut down, like when we played South Park clip.
No, but that was different because it was like can you copyright the call of a
Can
gibbon?
you?
I don't think so.
Probably.
I don't know. We were doing a live show that was going like really good. We were talking about Decision Chicken, and
Oh Lord.
was it me? Did I put on somebody
No.
put on a South
Or
Park?
Gibbon.
Somebody put a South Park clip on.
And like
And
the
it just
show
dropped the
immediately
chat.
got shut down.
In 5 seconds. And I was
Yeah.
like, how can they have AI this good?
It was so quick that
It
we
was
kept
so
talking
fast.
for like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a minute. I think chat just died. What happened? And it was like, no, we got kicked off because we played copyrighted.
That was so insane. I that was hard for me to believe. And then I was watching right after that, I was watching the Joe Rogan show, and it was like, oh, you can't play this, you can't play that, you can't play this, you can't play that, because it instantly just gets cut and you're done. Like it's over.
And you guys experienced it.
Oh, it was actually really creepy. I thought it was super creepy. Anyway, Kayla, how are things going?
Good. I can't complain.
Do you have a
I mean,
story?
I could complain, and I do complain, but I'm not going to complain.
Did you see the Dan, did you see the stories with Kayla? because it's one of the best ones. She tells a story about how she stole somebody's table with her father. It's so funny. That is
I
We
the
have
one
not seen that one.
accidentally my ass.
It was super accidental, I swear.
Dude, it's so
Was this at
funny.
a thrift store? You just randomly.
Should I retell this story?
You can. It's so funny.
I bet everyone in chat has already heard it. I'll do like the truncated version. But so like
It's
I get my love of thrifting and reselling and antiques from my dad. And so we used to go junking when I was little. We'd like on garbage day, we'd go drive around the town and like pick up all the cool stuff in the city that people had thrown away. And one day we're driving around and we find this old, like, not Formica, but it's like a metal top, like 1940s, 1950s kitchen table. And it's not on the sidewalk and it's not like in the road. It's kind of on that middle strip of grass between the two. And it has like a big bowl on top of it or something. And my dad is like, that table is amazing. We've got to take that table. So I help him load it up into our pickup truck. And it takes us maybe 5 minutes to do that. And we drive away and we go to drop it off. And then we were going to come back out because it's garbage night. So we were going to keep looking and try to find some other stuff. So we get home and we unload it. We get back in the car and we're kind of in the same neighborhood. And it's about 20, 30 minutes later. And we see police cars outside of the house where we just got that table. And there's like a man and a woman out there talking to the police how someone had stolen their table. So like we get out and we're driving, we're walking around, we're going to try to like hear what's going on. And we hear, them say, someone stole our table. And, they ask us as we're walking, like, did you see anybody in the neighborhood? And we're like, I'm like probably 9 years old at the time. And they're like, we were gonna have dinner outside and we brought our little table out here and we made spaghetti and we were gonna have dinner out here. We were going in to get our food and to get our stuff and we come back and our table is gone. And my dad is just like,
it's so good because you could like see it, you could visualize it so
Absolutely.
well.
And my dad is just like, oh my God, that's terrible. But like we were in too deep. Like if they had caught us like loading it up, we would have been like, oh my God, we didn't realize. But like at this point, we were like 20 minutes away. Like, why did you put your table? Listen, at this point in my adult life, I feel like I might have handled it differently, but I am not my father. I'm not my father. So he has his own way of doing things. Did he teach me the right way to handle that situation? Probably not. I have a feeling I would do something different today in my adult being. But it remains an amazing story. And my dad had that table for a good 20 years after that. Like he really only got rid of it a few years ago. So he kept it. It was well loved. It was our everyday table. He didn't sell it. He wasn't like, oh, I'm going to flip this for a bunch of money, which he could have.
Yeah.
But we actually kept it. It was our kitchen table. We had many beautiful meals at it. And,
that's almost the funnier part. It's like every time you sit at the table, it's like, oh shit.
Well, and he got it originally. When we picked it up, he's like, I'm going to sell it. This is a great sale. It was probably worth a few $100s. But after we found out that we had basically just stolen someone's table, we kind of felt like we needed to, I can't say do the right thing because the right thing would have been to return the fucking table.
But yeah, you guys held on.
Even if it was at the cover of darkness where you're like, okay, they left on vacation. We're just going to return the table and not say anything. But no, nobody did that.
I feel like it would have been great if it was like 3 years later. If we had done it like years down the line, like returned it.
Yeah.
But yeah.
They don't even live in the house anymore. And then all of a sudden the table shows up.
That's like really funny that you mentioned that, because like even just randomly today, like every time I drive in my neighborhood, I'm always, like I keep my eye out, like, maybe somebody's throwing something away or they're putting. So just randomly today, I was driving through my neighborhood and I saw this gentleman. He was like walking outside and he literally like puts a TV down, just like you said, just like on that strip of grass where it's like, it's not your property, but it's kind of like, the city's property. It's like, past the sidewalk. He put the TV down, and I drive by, and my wife's like, "What are you doing?" I stopped. I was like, "Hey, does that TV work?" And he's like, "Yeah, it works." So I was like, I literally like turned back around, and as I turned back around, he put it down. He walked his garage to maybe take a tool or some bolts. He walks back over and he starts trying to pick the TV up. I was like, "Hey, I'll take the TV if you're throwing it away." "I'm not throwing it away. I'm bringing it to the neighbor's house." I was like, "Oh, well," like I literally like turned around. I was like, "Oh yeah."
Why would you put it out on the street?
Yeah, I was like, "Why?" Yeah, I was like, "Why are you putting it there?" He's like, "Oh, I put it there real quick." Like he was like walking it to the neighbor's house. I was like,
Okay.
I thought you were throwing it away. I mean,
see, that's the other thing. Like, it was garbage night, and so like in New Jersey, at least on like bulk garbage night, which I think is like once a month or once every other week, something like that. Everybody in the neighborhood would have like a chair, tons of boxes, right? Like they pick up all this bulk stuff. It's not just garbage of like food and recyclables. It's like big bulk garbage. And like their neighbors had out like a couch or whatever, So like it wasn't a big mystery that it was bulk garbage night. Maybe just don't put your table out there on bulk garbage. I don't know. Or maybe my dad shouldn't have been an asshole and stolen their TV. I mean, not their table. But
there's this Colombian saying. It goes like this, like no da a papaya. Have you heard of this?
No.
You should just kind of like look it up really quick, because it's like this weird like this weird social construct where, like, let's say you leave your wallet on the table and you go to the bathroom. Somebody's gonna take it because you left it there. Like, not because they even need it, like, because that's like the social dilemma or something. It's like this weird thing. I don't even know how to describe it properly, but that's kind of like it. It's like if you move your table out near the street during garbage day, you have given the papaya.
I mean, listen, I am not victim blaming here, and my dad was not in the right. And if it were me and Hazel driving around, I hope I would make a different decision and teach my child a better lesson. This was also 1993 or something. Like, things were a little different back then. People were a little bit looser with their morals.
Yeah, her dad like pulls out a Slim Jim and like opens up their house and like starts stealing their silverware. He's like, it was close to the street.
I have another terrible story about my dad. Okay, I'm gonna share one. My poor father. Okay. So like I said, my dad was and is a junker. Like, he loved picking junk and then selling it. He loves antiques. So a few times this happened, but one specifically I remember. There was some big like estate sale or garage sale on like a Saturday morning. And so Friday night, my dad takes me and my stepmom in the car and is like, "We're going to go see if we can get in to this estate sale tonight, because there's stuff in there that I really want." And so we're like, "Well, you can't do that. Like, it doesn't start until tomorrow." And he's like, no, just play along with me. Okay. Like, just play along. So we get there and he knocks on the door, and it's some like, not little old lady, but she's, older than my dad is at that point. And he goes, "I saw the ad in the paper for your estate sale," because this was pre-internet days. And he goes, "I really hate doing this." He's like, "But, oh my God, my dad, I'm so sorry to my father. He's never going to watch this, but I swear to God, he's not a terrible person." He just
wanted to come up.
I'm there. I'm this little like 6, 7, 8, 9-year-old kid. And he's like, our house burned down recently. And, there was some really nice furniture that my grandmother had given me, and I can't replace it. But, you guys have such amazing stuff, and I'm willing to pay fair market for it. I'm just afraid that we're not going to be able to get here tomorrow in time. And just gives this entire spiel. Like, my dad is an actor. He could convince anybody of anything. Yes. Where do I get it from? And he's got this poor lady almost in tears of like this sob story. And she was like, come in. She's like, yes, absolutely. Come on in. And we go in, and my dad's like picking and choosing. She gives me cookies. She makes my stepmother tea. We're like basically best friends with this woman. And we walk out of there with like tons of stuff that she basically gave away. Like, my dad did pay for it, but not what it was going to be at the sale the next day. Right. And, I'm like, okay, I admire the hustle, but at the same time, that was absolutely terrible. But this happened more than once. Like, my dad absolutely played like look at my sweet little daughter. Like, don't you want to, give us a good deal on something? I would never do this myself, but that's my dad.
Yeah, that's what your dad did.
Your poor dad.
Poor dad. He would kill me if he knew I was telling these stories, by the way.
Probably not. He probably thought it was funny.
You know what? If I could convince my dad to get on YouTube, he would do this show in a heartbeat, and he would tell all these stories himself.
Tanisha's here.
Hi, Tanisha. There's another
I feel like everyone who's in this channel right now was at eBay Open.
Except for Val.
Val, are you coming to eBay Open this year? I doubt it.
I'm going to come and just drink with everybody. Yeah. I'm not going to...
Have you made the decision?
I think so. I mean, I haven't, like, made plans, but I think so. But I'm definitely not going to go and do the whole, like, listen to shitty people talk about shitty things I don't care about.
Last year was... I mean, I really wish they would get like value added individuals, because they are one of the largest tech companies on the planet.
Can we talk about the price of tickets?
It's $350,
I was pretty surprised.
It was $350 for the pre-sale
registration.
Oh, is the pre-sale over?
Yes, it's now
over.
$500.
I thought it was.
No, it's not over yet. No, it's not over yet.
Pre-sale's not over for 2 more days.
Oh,
right?
So for 2 whole days, and then it goes up to $500.
Dude, seriously, like, you could go eat at Michael Mina like 3 times.
Oh, that's like my favorite restaurant.
What I'm saying is, like, you could go to Vegas, do everything you wanted, eat at Michael Mina like 3 times, and still be ahead. Probably. That's what I'm gonna do. I think that doing some better organization with the people who are there, because if the conference is like it was last year, I'm not gonna. I want to be there, but I'm not going to pay for a ticket because it was ridiculous. The food was disgusting. It was disgraceful.
The food was an embarrassment.
The first day, it made me sick.
It says April 11th. I just pulled.
Oh, okay. So you got April like 2 weeks or so.
Yeah, that's my birthday is April 10th, so maybe somebody will buy me a ticket for my birthday.
Doubtful.
I think that there's so many like powerful and inspirational people in social media. There was last year, the best speaker was Mike, he's like an eBay seller who does like DIY Mike, I think is his name.
Oh yeah.
He was he was the best out of everyone, and I mean, he just did. He's just a normal eBay seller guy, and I mean, the people they picked to represent themselves was for me, it was a little bit disappointing because there was a lot of like pomp about like social media that just was completely ridiculous.
It felt definitely like didn't reach up to the expectation for sure.
Yeah. But I also like connecting with everybody because I think it's important. But I don't think you need the depth of the conference to do that. You smell. Can you hear me?
No, he can't even hear you.
Tell him I think he smells.
Corey says you smell.
We saw you planking
Thank
over
you.
there.
Yeah, so I mean the crazy part is like so Dan and we're going to share a room this year and we got a room for $75 before like right when they announced it, you could get a room cheaper
Yeah, then what they
than what eBay's offering a room for. This is completely ridiculous. And we had a bigger room, I think. And I think so. The thing is, if you book through the conference too, so like when we go to check in, like you can actually like bribe the person at the front desk to give you a better room.
Mm-hmm.
If you book through eBay, they can't change it.
it's
I don't know
what
if you
they
know
say.
that. Yep. So like anybody who tries to get a better room that way won't because it's like in that promotional thing, but like we just booked a room regularly and it was cheaper. So I
I
the
I
MGM
totally
Grand
agree.
the MGM Grand conference was really good. The rooms were really good. The conference space was way better. The food was incredible, but and it was right in the center of the strip, right? So that was kind of cool. But I mean, they're obviously doing well. Think about it. Like Mandalay Bay had like a very catastrophic event, and they had a pretty large conference there right after. And I mean, to anybody who has any sort of like sense, they did that because it was at a
Oh, they
very
probably got it
Discounted rate.
so cheap.
very discounted rate. The other thing is the previous year they had like bare naked ladies as like the concert, like a private concert with an actual real band. Like it's a nostalgic band for me or whatever, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
they didn't do that the second year
Who
or
was
the
it
third.
last
It
year?
was
I
the
don't even
third year.
remember.
I mean,
They were
you guys
cool.
remember last year they had those rappers,
Oh, that's
the
right. They
people.
didn't even have like a big name band. It
No, but
was
that
just,
was cool
it
because
was
those guys
fun.
were seventh floor. They're like eBay sellers, which is cool. Like
Yeah.
I appreciated that aspect. It was just like I felt like
For what you paid, you did not get, yeah, you didn't get what you paid for.
I mean, Amazon, like, you can go to an Amazon conference for cheaper. ASD is free. If you want to go to ASD to just like meet people, you probably meet way more people just because it's way bigger. But I feel like eBay Open is good for a couple of reasons, and really the two main reasons is knowing somebody at eBay so that when you have a problem, you can get it solved. So
Absolutely.
it's almost better to talk to people who work at eBay instead of people who are resellers.
Mm-hmm.
The second thing is we all accidentally got concierge.
It
Right.
wasn't
And
accidental.
no, the first year you weren't there the first
Oh,
year.
no.
So we all accidentally got concierge. And then like if you were there the first year, there was even more benefits like selling limits removed and all this kind of crazy stuff. So you just never know what they're going to do.
Do you
And
guys do you guys foresee the CEO will be there by the time we get there at eBay Open? I I'm kind of feeling that might not be the case.
oh, I think that so. Why would you want to produce a dividend, even if it was a tiny dividend? You
The
produce a
14.
14 cents on $26, 0.5%, 2% per year for 4 quarters. I mean, that's a CD pays more than that. Anyway, I think that you try to pay a dividend because you want to sell the company. That's what I think. That's the only reason to prove that it has the marketability, that it can produce profits. This is the first year ever that eBay produced a dividend. But a lot of weird things. Like tech is really weird because so Lyft went IPO today, right?
Yeah, I saw that.
So Lyft lost $1 billion last year, $1 billion, and they. Do you know what they
Wasn't
raised for the
why
IPO?
wasn't yeah,
No, what
Kayla,
was?
wasn't everyone ready?
No idea.
I think it's 3 billion in a single day. But so it launched at I think 62, and then like drove up to 88, and then there were a lot of short sellers, obviously, and I think it drove back down to like 68 or something. But I mean, I don't know. I feel like investing in a
I was
company
out of
that
that.
doesn't
I
make
get
money
it.
is so interestingly strange. And like Amazon made $11 billion last year, which is only a 4% margin, right? Because they did like $400 billion in sales in AWS and on their sales platform and yada yada yada. So even though there's these massive numbers, imagine if like cheap capital didn't exist and they had to get that capital at like 4% or something, they couldn't make a profit, you know? So I don't know. I feel like things are really weird in business where it's like, how can you not make money and make money?
Raise.
Those amounts of capital, like losing a, well, I guess like if you can lose $1 billion and not go bankrupt, obviously people trust you enough to be able to lose that $1 billion, right? The question
Right.
is like how do they determine that loss? That's crazy. Like, can we calculate what that is per day? I want to calculate what that is per day. What's 1 billion divided by 365? Can anybody help me out there?
Maybe.
It's going to be way more than any of us earn in a fucking year.
I could get a calculator working. Yes.
When he gets hard, he gets afraid of his own cock.
Michael.
I heard him say when he gets hard, he gets afraid of his own cock.
That is exactly what he said.
It sounds like your husband.
I don't know.
Maybe he's gonna go steal a table soon, and you just don't know what's going. Did you find out?
Is that
2,739,726.
That
sound about right.
Yeah, $2.7 million per day. They basically spent $2.7 million per day to keep their business operational. Isn't that crazy? And like imagine what that does to like the small business like who's trying to survive or like do anything. Like how do you even like those numbers are crazy for us. What would we have to do to even generate that capital?
I can't even. No, that's beyond comprehension for me.
Where is it coming from though? Because it's like
you would think though if they're going like public with the share.
You would think what?
I said you would think that if they're going public that they're making some money.
No, why you go public is so that you can like gain market share, like so that you can build your market cap, so you can see whether your company is viable, right? But you're always going to get like, because markets are complex, you're going to get people who are like, okay, I'm going to buy it on the first day and sell it on the first day and try to gain short-term profits. Once you succumb to the will of the market, it's kind of like Elon Musk says something funny and then Tesla stock goes down 40 points, but 40 points across 100 million shares is 40. So the stock dives $1 billion
little
in a
bit.
day because somebody makes an offhanded comment. You know, this is what happens when you're on when you're in the public markets, and I think that's why like the conservative nature of like CEOs and all that sort of thing exist, I guess. Nicole likes this video.
I see that.
I think she's telling others to like this video.
Oh, I thought she said I like this video. Sorry. Like this video. I don't even know how to like my own video. I don't even know if I like my own video.
I haven't decided yet. It's not over, so
I mean,
it could go either way.
I feel like we're in this epoch of cheap capital and that it can't last forever because if it does, the entire economy will just implode. Maybe I'm just wrong about that. And I feel like eBay's the only company who's like, we have to tighten our belts and figure things out. I only like Kayla and Dan.
Agreed.
I invited you to my house. Dan, would you hold my drink?
That's the important question. Dan, if we were out like at a party or at eBay Open, let's say, and I was like, could you hold my drink for a second so I can like get something out of my purse? What would you say?
I would say I could hold your drink for you.
Thank you. That's all. That's all. Perfect.
I hope you asked me that during eBay Open.
That was that was the right answer. Corey, same question.
I don't do that shit. I don't do it. It's just not something I do.
Valerie I'd say shit's about to go down. No, that's if I tell you to hold my earrings. Take my earrings out. Then shit's about to go down.
I would like to see that happen.
Oh, those days are long gone. Long gone.
We don't want to see that. We don't want to see that this eBay Open for sure. We don't want any
Oh boy.
I mean,
nope.
I want to be there, but I just like there's like 350 bones. Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? Are you serious? Like the value of bringing resellers together and like, oh, there we go. Hi, Nicole.
Hello.
Can you tell
who is
Kayla's...
that man next to you?
It's looking good.
It's a stranger.
Who is that bald-faced man?
My face is bald.
Are you faced bald?
Oh my god,
Bald
you're
face
even
man.
more terrifying now.
It's true. The black eye is standing out much more now.
That's true. Yeah.
The gold tooth is shimmering in the sunset.
That's the best way.
Dude, did you watch that video I showed you about the crazy tornadoes?
No, I have not yet.
It's insane. This guy captures it at the exact same time 16 streaks of lightning coming up from the ground to the sky and like spreading out. And also he saves turtles.
I
At
thought
the
you were
same
going to say
time?
you captured tornadoes.
He goes
In a
around
bottle
and chases tornadoes and saves turtles
at the same time.
at the same
And he
time.
films it at the same time.
Yes.
I can't
Jeez.
even walk and chew gum.
I mean, I can hardly like film myself while I'm like shifting through racks. Like I'm sometimes pretty hard. I gotta
Oh,
go.
right?
How do you do it?
Honey, so Joe didn't watch the whole video. So Dan here, say hi, Dan.
Hi, Dan.
He makes his
Joe?
living selling 95% Disney stuff.
Hey, he's Magic Keelder. I know who he is.
Sorry.
We follow each other on Instagram.
Shut
Your personal
down.
one?
Yeah,
You let him follow you on your personal one?
I'm pretty sure. If not, I just follow him. Either way.
No,
Are you
no,
sure?
yeah.
Are you sure his
follow-
daughter didn't accidentally follow you by like clicking the button?
There are many things you don't know.
Joe sent me the key when you guys were like out at Disneyland. He sent me a key and he said, I thought of you when I saw this key.
Oh,
You have friends that I don't know about?
I guess. Okay.
oh, time to go through his Instagram.
I mean, I was surprised you just didn't say you have friends. You have friends?
That's what we say about you, Corey.
Well, I don't have friends. I only have associates.
But then you correct us.
Associates.
You know his face and every you obviously really follow along with his life.
I follow his Instagram.
Absolutely.
I know. He posted pictures of the Epcot ball recently.
Yeah,
like every 15 minutes or something like that, you can see the train go by the Epcot ball, and then you can get this great picture. And I was like, yeah, that is a good picture.
Absolutely.
That is a great photo opportunity.
Yep, that was me.
So when are we going to Disney World? I want to go.
You guys gotta come.
I want to go tomorrow.
Whoever's ready to drink at Walt Disney World can come.
Always.
We wanted to go this year, but I think it's next year that we're gonna go. Look, if I go, I want to go once with my kids. It's such a long travel.
Yeah. Are you gonna drink a little bit, Nicole, or are you gonna?
We don't drink at Disney.
Epcot is like a frat house, though. You have to it's like Beta Kappa Psi over at
We have it's the one time we take with our kids, and we just have weird rules. We don't drink at all at Disney.
You can take Hazel, and I will drink. I have no rules.
I mean, I understand going to Disneyland and not wanting to drink.
Yeah,
because Disney was there. Maybe that, but if you come to Walt Disney World, you got to drink. I'm telling you, man. Roy Disney, Disney's brother, he drank all the time when he was that. He was drinking all the time.
They actually sell Roy Disney liver pills at Disney World.
We actually just listened to a really good podcast about Roy Disney building Disney World, and it was who was it? It was it was such
it was on the Days Unplugged, right?
Days Unplugged, yeah.
And it was Walt walking in Walt's footsteps is a super good podcast. And they did it was a 2-hour. We listened to it all the way from Portland to Seattle, and it just talked about Roy building Disney World, and it was so good. Strongly recommend that.
I mean, when did Walt Disney die?
65.
Okay, that's kind of a long time ago.
Oh wait, 67.
And when was Epcot finished?
Epcot was all the way done in the 80s.
Yeah, but Walt Disney was way dead by then.
So Epcot isn't what Disney envisioned at all.
It was experimental community of the future or something.
That's right.
That. Is it something like that? Wasn't it supposed to be the people who worked at Disney so they could show their cultures of where they lived? They could make their little colonies or whatever.
Yeah, originally he wanted there to be actually hotels in the theme park where you could stay, or it's experimental world of tomorrow type of feel.
I kind of think that's really cool. If you had people who were from a country cooking the food and running the things they would in their own place, and then you could actually stay and interact with it. That's what I think is cool. I mean, that's really awesome.
And it's build a city, an actual city.
Nicole's right.
No, I know. I mean, no, it makes sense that it would be this city entity, but each little zone would be a different part of the world, right?
That's not what he was doing. No. So Epcot today is not what Walt Disney himself envisioned at all. So he actually envisioned building a city of tomorrow, with really good transportation and everything kind of in a bubble almost. He was building an actual city, not a theme park, a city.
The people movement to be the mass transit, basically.
So the people who worked at Disney would live in Epcot, though, right?
I don't know the answer to that.
Not necessarily, but yeah, he wanted people to be able to live there, and kind of like go about their day to day, and like Nicole said, just the city
So
of tomorrow.
he felt like he had already mastered everything, right? Like he felt like, okay, I know how to build a theme park. I know how to run a movie theater. His next step was to better the world, right? And he thought he could do that by building these like prototype cities. And if he built these really good prototype cities, he would be able to convince government, like, hey, you should build these things within your cities and it will make it better. Does that make sense? So like, hey, transit is obviously an issue. Like, how can I make transit better? He can't convince people without having these like prototypes. So he wanted to build an actual city where he could test his theories. And if they worked, then he could get government basically to build it within the US.
Yeah, he could build a small version that he could possibly scale later.
Yes, which
Just
is
like a business works.
Exactly what he was doing, which is crazy that he died when he died. Because like if he would have lasted another 5 to 10 years, he would have been successful in building that.
Well, yeah, his like the integration of his ideas with technology and his drive with technology would have been interesting, because he was gone right before computing existed, So that's interesting, very interesting. I don't know. I don't really know a lot about Disney or Disney stuff, to be honest. I really don't. I don't have.
I find Walt Disney like extremely like interesting as a human. So like he was never like rich. Like people think like Walt Disney must have had like a lot of money, but he was actually pretty poor most of the time because he was constantly dumping every penny he had back into his business.
Absolutely.
I think every successful business owner basically does that.
Right, but people don't understand that, right?
Well, people are selfish.
They just think he's so rich that he just like chopped his head off, and it's in the castle and it's on ice, and he's waiting to come back.
Or he just flies his own head. Yeah.
Oh, is Disney in cryo?
Yeah.
It's like a huge myth.
Dude, you can't, like, the human body cannot survive cryostasis, by the way. You will turn into a blob.
Sure, you good, Hedgie?
You cannot survive being frozen.
Okay.
I don't know. Don't tell people that. That's what they assume about Disney. It's like an actual thing that people think.
An actual thing that people think.
They think
Valerie had to come in. She had to talk about, oh man, this is weird. The reverse angle of the phone. Hi, Val. How are you?
I'm good.
How's life?
Life is life.
It's late.
Yeah.
Just so you know,
it's really late for Daniel. Isn't it like 1 a.m.?
Yeah, it's 1:18 for me over here.
Yeah, same. I have terrible sleep patterns.
How are the parks right now? Are they really busy?
To be honest, like kind of like the spring break push has kind of passed away. So right now the Epcot and Magic Kingdom are still a little bit busy just because of the festival, and then obviously always Magic Kingdom never really has a downtime. But yeah, like the other two parks are kind of like, if you wanted to check out Animal Kingdom right now for Pandora, now's the time to go. But yeah, it's a little quiet right now.
So
after the spring break,
my question to you: Star Wars Land is opening in California, and then it's not opening till the end of summer for you guys. Do you think you're going to have a slow summer because of that? Or do you think people like us who were like, we're not going to Disneyland because we don't want to deal with the crowds, are all going to go to Walt Disney World?
To be honest, I've talked to a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are just waiting to come here. Like, I mean, I don't know if you guys saw just like recently, like literally like 2 days ago, like over at Disneyland, they just announced they're like, building a new parking garage. Like they're obviously getting ready for the push over there, but Walt Disney World, like we're going to be able to handle the crowd over here. So there's a lot of people that are just kind of like, hey, you know what? Like we're just gonna wait. We're just gonna wait to come here because it's like I don't know. Like I mean, just like from personal experience from people I've spoke with, they just want to come here to kind of like like kind of take it all in.
I am like
So,
terrified of Disneyland this summer. Like, there's no way I'm touching it.
I totally agree. Yeah, no, you don't want to be over there right now. It's
You
especially
can't-
with
There's no space for this there. Have you been to Disneyland?
I've never been personally. I've never been.
It's not big.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
I don't know where these people are going to go. There's nowhere for them to go.
I felt like Disney World was like just way more crowded with people. Maybe it's just like way more people go there or something. It felt bigger, but there were just so many people. I get very claustrophobic.
I have a friend that's at Disney World right now.
There's also,
Nice.
It looks like you're about to be eaten by the sun.
Yeah, I'm sorry. The light is behind us.
Just kidding. It doesn't matter.
I don't believe in the sun.
Oh, man. So, Dan, you've never been to Disneyland? You've only been to Disney
The
World?
sun is fake.
Yeah, I kind of like I grew up here in the Orlando area, so I've only been to Disney World. I have the opportunity if I really wanted to, I could go over there. Like as far as like getting in, but I've never made the travels over there to Disneyland. It's definitely on the bucket list, but no, I've never been over there. I mean, I've heard. Like people always tell me, it's like if you go there and you've already been to Disney World, it kind of feels like like smaller size. But I would love to experience it just as far as like Disney was there and that's the original. So I would love to enjoy it. But yeah, I've never been there personally.
I heard that.
Yeah, like you can, like even the resort is like right there. So like the hotel, you can walk into the park from the hotel. Like your resorts are so far away from everything, I feel like.
No, yeah, no, absolutely. And like I don't know if you saw, but like overnight when they announced Disneyland's release of Star Wars Land, they announced that like every person that's at Disneyland that day or within the first 3 weeks, like you have to have a reservation to go to Star Wars Land at Disneyland.
Yeah.
So if you're staying at one of those resorts, you can like get in. So like all the rooms are like already booked over there. But like over here, there's like there's 20 different resorts. So it's like there's still like rooms available. Like I mean, obviously, I think it's going to be super busy. Obviously, there's going to be people camping out. There's going to be a lot of like like busy portions of like coming over here to see Star Wars Land. But I think it'll be a little bit easier to like kind of get around and like actually enjoy it. Whereas like over there, I think it's gonna be it's gonna be nuts over there.
No, our kids are like, when are we going back to Disneyland? I'm like, not this year. It's not fun.
Year. Hey Valerie, what did you want to say?
Oh, so I heard that Disney is like really crazy about tracking people who resell.
Nothing.
Well,
how do you get around that?
Well, Valerie, I have to say, what you hear is highly like kind of like a rumor. It's more or less that maybe it's like more of a deterrent. Like I'll be completely honest with you. Like I've been doing this for a long time. Back in the day, I could go to any Disney park and I could buy any item as long as it wasn't limited edition, and I could buy 24 of us each SKU. Disney has tapered it down where it's like, hey, you know what? If you come to our park and you want to buy, to resell, we're only going to let you buy 10 of each item, so 10 of each SKU. Disney does not care. Like I'm telling you, like just from personal experience, like any article, anything you've seen over social media, like it's a complete just like maybe a major deterrent more than like an actual fact. There are people that have been banned from the parks, but that's people that go to the park, they buy with their annual pass, they throw the receipt away, and then they go back to Disney like, hey, I couldn't sell this. I want to return these Dooney and Burke bags, but I want to return them for full price. And then Disney's like, well, hey, like obviously we gave you a discount. You're an annual pass holder. Oh, well, I don't have my risk. So it's like those are the people that are getting, like kicked out, or like those are the people that are getting pushed out of
Yeah, it's people who
out of
aren't.
like
They're
reselling.
they're trying to
They're
get
not
one.
following the
They're trying to
rules.
game the system, and I mean, they want to sell the stuff. If you're buying it at full price, who cares? Buy all of it.
Okay, so they're in the business to make money.
Yeah, this. I mean, I have several people just as far as like social media like that reach out to me constantly with hate. Like I have people that just like, hey, I know what you do. You're a dick, and I'm just like, hey, I'm sorry. I'm sorry that you don't agree with what I do. I try to like service people. I mean, back in the day when I started this, there was no like if you did not buy from eBay, you could not get an item from Disney parks. Like there was no way for you to. Now Disney, they've kind of like combated with it where they have their own like shop parks, but there's still items that you cannot get unless you go to the parks. Like you cannot get the items unless you go to the Disney parks. So it's like obviously they only have one option, that's Disney, eBay, Amazon, Mercari, other e-commerce platform to actually buy the items.
None of those people actually understand what it takes to do business anyway. So like, they just it's inconsequential. It doesn't even matter.
Absolutely.
The same people say that about Goodwill.
Exactly. Yeah. You're exactly right. Like people talk about Goodwill or any company like Goodwill, the more information that's out there and the more like exposure they have to the marketplace, whether you're posting it on social media or not or whatever, like they're going to figure it out. Like they're going to figure out how to get more revenue. They've been doing it. I've been here in Portland since 2001. They weren't savvy at all, and before there was even social media aspects, they were figuring it out. They were selling on Shop. They've been selling on Shop Goodwill for a long time. They just didn't. It didn't have the traction yet. And the more traction it got, the more money they put into it, and now it's, I would say, probably 30% of what they do, like, revenue wise, is online, maybe even 40.
And I, as I mentioned earlier in the video when I was speaking with Corey, like there's several items that will go through Disney's Mouse House, and they like if they can't sell it and it's a slow moving item, Disney is so quick to send it to liquidation. Like they will send it to liquidation, and people like myself, they will go to the liquidation store and we will buy it. And Disney is more than happy to give it to us, like because they want it.
I was just going to ask if you go to that place. There's a one. You probably don't want me to say this. Never mind. There's like a very good outlet by you for that stuff, isn't there?
Yeah, there's like me in the exact area that I'm located in. There's like two major outlets that I like. It's public outlets, and then there's a third outlet that's like only exclusive to cast members and vendors. So like if you're not a vendor or if you don't know a cast member, like you can't get in. But but the other public outlets, they will spew a lot of items through there. So like as an example, like anytime you see a marathon or just a random event that goes on at Disney, if you give it a few weeks or a few months, if an item doesn't sell out, it will end up at the outlet. So I tell a lot of people that, like purchase from me, I tell them like, hey, it's like, hey, if you don't need this today, if you want to wait, like you can wait. And, if it hits the outlet, I can offer it to you at a better price. But if it doesn't hit the outlet, I have to charge you like what market value goes, because there are some items obviously that are like hotter or, like obviously like more sought after. But most things will go to the outlet or will go, like Disney will get rid of it because they're looking to kind of like, put in the next item or the newer stuff that's coming.
They're just like Target. Like they're just like Target.
They're just
they are producing tons of stuff, and it's like they've got to produce overruns it's very hard to understand what demand is on those levels, right? So they are producing overruns, and
They're
as long
they're
as they can,
Well,
as
and
long as
it's getting worse. Theme parks and Disney merchants used to be two different theme parks and merchandise used to be two different strands, right? Probably
right.
2 or 3 years ago, they actually put them together, and so the same management is in charge of both, which means that they're producing way. That's why you're seeing way more Disney stuff than you might have even 5 years ago, is because now everything is one branch, and so they're just producing so much more than they ever did.
Absolutely. I mean, even just as an example, literally the past recent Funko Pops that they released exclusively to Disney parks, they've done shitty. You know, they have not done well at all, because just it's kind of like Disney, literally Disney and Funko, whoever decided, they raised the price on them, and they just sit at the parks, and they're trying to hold out as long as possible, and eventually they will go to the outlet. But right now, it's just they're
Didn't they
trying.
go from $10 to $50? They're an extreme price hike on those, though, right?
Yes. The last year, if you wanted to get the they were called the Funko Pop rides, ride exclusives. There was a Haunted
Oh, I
Mansion
remember
that
that.
came
Yeah.
out. Yeah, if you wanted to get those, they were 50, and then no, I'm sorry, they were 40, and then this year they hiked them up to.
Oh no,
What happened?
Disney doesn't want him to talk about it. Corey, you're muted. Everyone is muted.
I'm here,
Oh, hi.
but I don't know what happened.
I muted myself. His phone probably died because he's on.
I'm sorry that we just came on here and took over the conversation with weird Disney talk.
No, that's what it should be, because that's what he wants to talk about. But it's
I feel
good.
What we want to talk about.
That's the point of this whole thing, right?
I have a lot of weird Disney insight because I literally listen to every weekly podcast about Disney and how the business is the behind the business stuff is ran, because I find it extremely interesting.
I mean, when I look at the amount of merch, and what it takes to move that merch and process it, you're like, what? They're getting a container ship a week? I don't even know, because there's so many people. The volume of people through those parks every single day,
What's crazy is they feel. I feel like they don't even really feel out test the waters. When they first put out the Spirit jerseys,
There wasn't enough.
there was their normal merch order, which I'm sure is crate by crate by crate. But then they couldn't have predicted how popular they were. They were selling out and reselling for super high, and now they oversaturate it with literally a Spirit jersey for every single ride and every single land.
Right, every
And
single
they're
color.
They're just killing it.
So instead of they see that something's hot, and instead of being okay, let's not ruin this, they literally will just produce 100 different of that same one, and then it's not. No one wants that anymore.
But they also know it has a fad nature, so they're let's make the product that the people want, because our margins are really good. We produce it really cheap. We can get it to them quickly because we have production. They don't want it, we liquidate it and we move on,
But that's not good for the environment.
Yeah, I mean,
it's Disney's production. I don't think it's good for the environment.
who said that?
Me.
Is that in the chat?
It's me. It's Val.
It's Valerie. She's in the chat.
We can't hear or see anything she's saying.
Yeah.
Oh, you can't hear her?
Or see her.
I have my camera off. I'm looking rough.
Is she talking? We literally can't hear anything from her.
Oh, yeah, I can hear her.
Hmm.
Kayla, can you hear her?
Yeah, I can hear her. She's quiet, but I can hear her.
She's
But I have
quiet. We can
headphones
hear her.
on, so
Yeah, I do too. I have headphones on.
well, we
She's
can't.
very, very quiet, but they do produce a lot of stuff, and like way more than probably the people who resell the stuff can sell. But our guest Daniel, it sounds like he just texted me. He can't get back on, so I think we're gonna cut it for the evening. For
You
the
gonna hit your mic
evening.
again?
I'm sorry.
You gonna cut it and hit your mic again?
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Thanks, everybody. Bye.
bye.
I almost tried to touch screen my computer.